Welcome everyone. Today's discussion is on the subject history of costume, and today discussion on the topic is Mesopotamian and Egyptian part C. So today's discussion is on Asiatic empires. So before 3000 BC, the Sumerians, original inhabitants of Assyria, had founded walled cities and developed an elaborate civilization. But they were conquered by the invading Semitic Akkadians, so who took over the political control about 2300 BC. So the wealth of precious metals that have been excavated denotes a prosperous civilization flourished in this section of this world. So the first Babylonian empire, spreading over the valleys of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, was founded by the Hammurabi, a Semite about 1900 BC, about 1600 BC. The Babylon, its leading city, was harassed by the Kassites, who brought with them the horse and war chariot and established their own kingdom. So, in the meantime, if you see, a settlement of Ashur in the northern part of the valley had become very strong and assumed leadership. So, while Babylon became a lesser power. So, for centuries, the power swayed back and forth between the two capitals, Nineveh of Assyria and Babylon of Babylonia. Assyria became an empire as early as 884 BC and later was the most powerful Asiatic state. The private life of one of its rulers, that is Assurbanipal, and his queen is depicted on many bas reliefs of this period. In the 8th century BC, under a line of strong kings, beginning with Sargon II, who was also Semite, Assyria dominated Western Asia but maintained her supremacy for only about 150 years. So the empire fell in 612 BC when the Chaldeans, a Semitic tribe that had already captured Babylonia, assisted by the Medes and Persians, took Nineveh. Two kingdoms were established, the Medo-Persian in the north and the Chaldean in the south. During the Chaldean or the Second Babylonian Empire, the Babylon was rebuilt until it surpassed Nineveh. This great new empire under Nebuchadnezzar and his successor lasted until about 550 BC, so when it was defeated by the Cyrus. Under Cyrus, the lands of the Medes, the Lydians, and Asia Minor, which included the Phrygians, Syrians, Parthians, and Amazons, were all conquered, and thus the Persian Empire was established. Further conquest between 530 and 522 BC under Cyrus' son Cambyses resulted in the acquisition of most of Egypt. The Persian Empire passed into the hands of Greece when defeated by the Alexander the Great about 331 BC. Arts and costumes of Babylonia, Assyria, and Mesene, and even of Egypt in early centuries were so merged that it is very difficult to distinguish them individually. So, in contrast with the simple garments of wool worn by the Sumerians, and the costumes of Babylonian and Assyrian monarchs were very extravagant. During the most prosperous times, garments were practically covered with jewelry and woven embroidery. The expression to tie the nuptial knot originated among the Babylonians. The priest, when conducting a wedding ceremony, would take two threads from the outer garment of the bride and two from that of the bridegroom and tie them together as a symbol of union. About 550 BC, Cyrus brought the long robe or sleeved tunic of the Medes to Persia and encouraged his people to adopt it. The Persians brought pantaloons to the other civilization. The Phrygian cap was used as far westward as Venice, and the dog wore it until the last days of Venetian independence in 1797. The myth of King Midas, a Phrygian ruler, no doubt has due to the wealth of gold in that country. In most of the Asiatic countries, the women had very little freedom. Marriage at an early age originated as a protective measure since the conqueror of a country usually carried off many of the women and girls to his native country. Gradually, this protection became an enslavement of the Hebrew woman. She was veiled and not permitted to uncover her head before any man who was a stranger. Before the exile of the Hebrew people, a daughter might be sold either as a concubine or a slave. In spite of these rigid rules, a woman was able to excel in certain professions, like judges are listed among women of that time. Greater freedom was enjoyed by the women of Babylonian since her role in this country was an influential one. In more ancient times, she was esteemed as a prophetess, performed the religious ceremonies, and had authority to manage the property of a deity. The famous Code of Laws of Hammurabi lists laws of marriages similar to those of today. Although the father of the bridegroom paid the price of the bride, marriage was really more like a contract between man and woman. It is true that there were slaves, but a woman usually had economic independence and a good legal position with the right to be a scribe, judge, or witness. A married woman was permitted to take her husband's place and property. Some of the women who lived in the city of Babylon achieved considerable power, and some girls became secretaries. The making and using of dyes were important household duties of a woman. Research work was carried on by both men and women. The wealthy woman was philanthropic and sometimes bestowed sums of money on each citizen of the city in which she lived. She gave money for the construction of public buildings and made contributions for the enjoyment of her fellow citizens. At times, she presided at public games and over religious ceremonies. The man in the Asiatic countries engaged in agriculture and in the arts and crafts, which were well established. The title of shepherd, taken by the early Chaldean prince, show the importance given to the pastoral habits of the people. The traveling salesman held an essential place in the life. Raw materials bought into the country were manufactured into finished products and sold in the countries farther to the north and west. The banker was also very important and was vital to the successful financing of the various business of the country. The Sumerian slave was not considered as an inferior since he had been usually a free man captured from another country. He was given many rights, including that of purchasing his freedom. In this image, you can see the a Tower of Babylonian, a kingdom of during that era, and the map. Now, when we discuss about the dresses of these Babylonian people, early Babylonian people, their garments, if you see, the outer upper was a nude torso, and outer lower, if you see, they had a skirt reaching to calf or ankle. So sometimes it might be of a sheepskin. So cloaks and overgarments, if you see, they had a shawl with or without fringe or soft material, which will be worn over the left shoulder. Hair, if you see, they had a shaven head and they had a upper lip, short chin, beard. Then if you see their headdress, they were having a cap which is similar to the fez. Footwear, if you see, it is mostly their barefoot. Accessories, if you see, they had a walking stick or staff, wide belt, they had a sword. Jewelry, if you see, they had a gold and bronze bracelets and ornaments, chain, pendant of coil, which looks like a seal. Typical colors, if you see, no doubt they had indigo color, madder color, and purple color. Then typical materials, if you see, they had finely woven cloth of flax or wool. So makeup, normally they didn't do any makeup at that time. So dresses for women, if you see, their garments like outer upper and outer lower, scant garment to ankle. Then they had a low neckline, unbelted tunic. Then they had a short tight sleeve. Later, they used ankle length dress with flounce. Then their cloaks and overgarments, if you see, they had a fringed cape gathered and tied at the neck. Then, if you see for their hair, they had a low hair on forehead, separated in bandeaux and held down on the forehead by a ribbon. Elaborate coils or braids were used, thick and short braids pinned up over nape of the neck when wearer was away from the home. So hair drawn back from ears occasionally, falling down in ringlets over shoulder, sometimes long hair braided with the gold bands. Headdress, if you see, crown with gold rings across the forehead, and it was triangular in shape. Decoration in back composed of 7 long thin points, each topped by a gold rosette. Close fitting cap with linen band or veil rolled around it, elaborate conical tiara worn by the wealthy women. Mostly the footwear was barefoot. So literally they didn't have any footwear actually. Accessories, if you see, that they had a belt and hairpins. Jewelries, if you see, they had gold rings, necklace of fine workmanship, beads of lapis, agate, onyx and carnelian, gold and bronze bracelets, earrings and ornaments, brooch. Then if you see for their typical colors, no doubt they had indigo, madder and purple. Typical materials, if you see, they had a finely woven cloth of flax hair, wool. So makeup, if you see, they had a eye emphasized by use of kohl on lid and at corner. Skin made smooth with finely powdered pumice with white lead which is used on the face.